What is poetry? Like many other forms of fiction, poems can be written about anything. A poem packs all kinds of ideas, feelings, and sounds into a few carefully chosen words. Poetry is short, imaginative, and rhythmic. Learning the key elements of poetry can unlock some of its mystery and help us understand the meaning of the words. Poetry is like painting a picture with words. Here are some of the features of poetry. Rhyme. Rhyme is when words have the same ending sound, usually at the end of lines in a poem. Our example says, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky." You might recognize this as a song, but it can also be read as a poem. And you can see at the end there, star, are, rhyme. High, sky, rhyme. Next up, we have imagery. Imagery is when words are used to create pictures in your mind. That's what poetry is really all about, painting a picture in your mind. Onomatopoeias. That's our new word that we learned this week. Onomatopoeia is when words are used to make sounds. Our example here is a pencil that's snapping, and it says the word crack. And crack makes the sound when you say it, just like you would hear if that pencil was snapping. Onomatopoeias can add some interesting texture to your writing. Next up, we have alliteration, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Alliteration is a series of words that start with the same sound. 6 smiley starfish. Again, the alliteration adds a little bit of something to your writing and makes it more interesting and more lyrical to read. This is a good thing for our poetry. Repetition. Repetition is when the words or phrases are repeated in a poem. Our example is birds sang when the sun came up. Flowers bloomed when the sun came up. Children laughed when the sun came up. Bees buzzed when the sun came up. All was happy when the sun came up. Repeating the phrase "when the sun came up" makes it easier for us to remember, and it allows you guys to join in. When I read a book that has a repeated phrase, you guys often end up joining in when I'm reading aloud. It's the same thing with poetry. That repetition helps us remember it and makes it more fun to read. And finally, we have rhythm. Rhythm is when words follow a pattern as if to a beat. This is why many times poems can also often be turned into songs. Just like our book Over in the Garden, the words and in the poem using onomatopoeias, using alliteration and other figurative language makes it more interesting and more lyrical for us. And so it almost feels like you're reading a song and not just some words on a page. Again, it's really painting a picture with words. So our poem for the week that we're going to be working on is Colors of Spring. So I am going to show you my example and talk about some of the features that we have in our poem. The first thing is you will notice that our poem has the words like and as. And a few weeks ago we talked about similes, and you guys practice coming up with your own similes. So this week we're going to use similes again to add a little bit of fun to our poems. So our poem is called Colors of Spring, and you can see my illustration shows all of the things that I wrote about, and I even labeled each thing. I'm going to read to you mine and then talk to you about how you can make yours. Red like a ladybug, orange as a beetle, yellow like the sun, green as a field, blue like the sky, indigo as a flower, and violet like the end of a rainbow. I used all of the colors of the rainbow to write my poem, and I thought of things that I might see in springtime that are these colors. And so I'm making a simile about the color and the things that you might see in springtime. And now it's your chance to go ahead and give it a shot. Draw your picture. Look, I have all the things that I talked about in my poem in my picture, and I labeled everything. Give it a try.